حديث الكساء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي. قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أماه، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي. قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه. يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال الله عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا. وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. चिल्लू में दरिया के लिए प्यास खड़ा है, शबीर का मंजूर नजर खास खड़ा है। चिल्लू में दरिया के लिए प्यास खड़ा है, शबीर का मंसूब नजर खास खड़ा है। काले लिबास में काले लिबास में ये अलम नहीं है लोगो, महदी के इंतजार में अब्बास खड़ा है। काले लिबास में ये अलम नहीं है लोगो, महदी के इंतजार में अब्बास खड़ा है। मौला 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 सब ठाट परा रह जाएगा जब आने वाला आएगा। ये धरती सोना उगलेगी, ये चरख गोहर बरसाएगा। کعبے کے چھت پر غازی کا ایک روز علم لہرائے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، بغیر فرمان ابن زہرا، بغیر فرمان ابن زہرا نظام دنیا نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، کہیں گزارش نہیں چلے گی، کسی کی سازش نہیں چلے گی، کرے گا آ کر وہ عدل قائم، کوئی سفارش نہیں چلے گی، چلائے گا وہ علی کا سکہ، چلائے گا وہ علی کا سکہ، کسی کا سکہ نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، الگ نہ ہوگی کوئی کسی سے، نماز روزے بھی ایک ہوں گے، امام آئیں گے لوٹ کر جب، ہر ایک مؤذن بغور سن لے، اذان ہوگی غدیر والی، اذان ہوگی غدیر والی، یہ کم زیادہ نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، انا کے جذبوں میں بہنے والوں، ہوائے مذہب میں رہنے والوں، کوئی کرے گا حلال تم کو، حرام ماتم کو کہنے والوں، دکان فتووں کی بند ہوگی، دکان فتووں کی بند ہوگی، کسی کا فتویٰ نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، لکھا ہوا ہے حدیث میں بھی، زمین اجازت سے دور ہوگی، چلے گی شمشیر مرتضیٰ کی، زبان و ملت کی قید کیسی، علی کا منکر ہو چاہے جو بھی، علی کا منکر ہو چاہے جو بھی، زمین پہ زندہ نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، مریں گے سب مصلحت کے عادی، کہاں پہ جائیں گے یہ فسادی، چھپائیں گے کس طرح سے چہرے، حرام سے ہوگی یہ حرم سے ہوگی جب منادی، میری حکومت میں اس زمین پہ، میری حکومت میں اس زمین پر عدو زہرا نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، فسادی سارے بھریں گے آہیں، سمائے دیکھیں گی جب نگاہ ہے، نظام تبدیل ہوگا سارا، یہ مسجدیں ہو یا بارگاہ ہے، وہ خود چلائیں گے ہر ادارہ، وہ خود چلائیں گے ہر ادارہ، یہ تیرا میرا نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، بغیر فرمان ابن زہرا، بغیر فرمان ابن زہرا، نظام دنیا نہیں چلے گا، نہیں چلے گا، وہ آ رہا ہے کہ جس کے آگے کسی کا کہنا نہیں چلے گا، پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔
مؤمنين سلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. On behalf of West Jamaat, our congratulations and felicitations to the Imam of our time and to all the mu'mineen on the occasion of the Wiladat of our 9th Holy Imam, Imam Muhammad Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salam. And also on the occasion where we celebrate the day of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Inshallah, the majlis will be delivered by Sheikh Fazl Abbas Datu. Please, can you join me in welcoming him with the loudest of 3 salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
الفاتحة لأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله رب العالمين والحمده كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله رب العالمين الأول قبل أولية الأولين والباقي بعد فناء العالمين. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ تأذن ربكم لئن شكرتم لأزيدنكم. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we have been given this gift of life to be able to witness this month of Rajab, and especially to witness this Mubarak day, where we are able to give the Qadha, and that is the last celebration of the Imam, our beloved seventh Imam Musa al-Kadhim, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, salla ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, who was born in the month of Safar, on the 7th of Safar in the year 128 after Hijrah. And as we know that the month of Safar is the month of mourning for the Abu Abdullah salam, Shuhada Karbala. The Qadha is to give the celebrations of the 7th Imam on the 7th day of the 7th month. In addition to that, tonight being the night of the Wiladat of our 9th Imam Muhammad Taqi al-Jawad salawatullahi salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, who was born on the 10th of Rajab, a night like today, in the year 195 after Hijrah. After presenting our Tabriq and Mubaraki to the Imam of our time, we also extend Mubaraki to the Ulama Kiram and Maraji' Idam and to all Mu'mineen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us that opportunity, inshallah, by the wasila of this blessed month of Rajabul Murajab and the sanctity of these personalities whose wiladat we have gathered to celebrate today, that we get an opportunity to visit the resting places in Kadhimain and in Samarra, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So, mu'mineen, with regards to the 7th Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, this month being the month of Rajab, it is befitting also to look at an advice which the 7th Imam has given to us with regard to this month. And the Imam is saying in one of these ahadith with regards to the excellence, the significance of this month of Rajab, he says, Rajabun shahrun azim. Know that indeed the month of Rajab is indeed an auspicious month. What is the auspiciousness about this month? The Imam explains, يُضَاعِفُ اللَّهُ فِيهِ الْحَسَنَاتِ. This month is indeed an auspicious month, a month in which the hasanat which a person performs, the good deeds which a person performs, are going to be increased manifold in the reward which a person will get as compared to when a person does that same deed in the other months as such. And the Imam continues to say regarding the sacredness and the fadila of this month, where he says, وَيَمْحُ فِيهِ السَّيِّئَاتِ. And it is this month, the auspiciousness of this month is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala erases in this month the sayyi'at, the wrongdoings of the persons. So we find itself that the month itself being present in that month, and the fadila which have been numerous in narration about the sanctity of this month, here our 7th Imam, whose Wiladat are meeting today to celebrate, is pointing out to us that consider yourself, what I'm saying in my word, paraphrasing, that we are indeed lucky to be in that environment, in that atmosphere of the 12 months of the year, just like a person would consider himself to be blessed to witness the month of Ramadan, the month of Rahmah, month of Maghfirah, month of Maghfirah and month of Rahmah, inshaAllah. Likewise, in this month of Rajab, you are being pointed out that you are indeed lucky in this month to witness, where you find that your hasanat which you do is going to be rewarded manifold. And not only that, an opportunity for you that the sayyat, the evil deeds a person has done, utilize this moment for Allah is going to erase them in plentiful. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we benefit and take advantage of this opportunity and make ourselves spiritually present in this time of the season of coming closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Amongst the common names by which our seventh Imam is known, very famous, you would be usually remembering him as the one who is al-Kadhim, the one who is able to curb and restrain his anger. We also know that he has that famous name which he shares with Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he also shares this name with Abul Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. And that is, he is the Abdus Salih, the most virtuous servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In addition to that, the Imam also shares a name by the name of Zainul Mujtahideen. Mujtahideen, from those who are endeavoring, who strive, who toil. And from that group of those who really strive and toil in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have the seventh Imam being given the title as the Zain, the ornament, the crown of those who are in the group of the Mujtahideen, or the toilers in serving towards gaining closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we look at this name, especially the name of Abdus Salih and Zainul Mujtahideen, and I was trying to find out how during the life of the Imam, in the times of the oppressive regime of the Banu Abbasid Caliphate, was the Imam being able to live according to this name. And we find that Abdus Salih, the most virtuous servant, is one when not only the one who is the virtuous of that status towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Babul Hawaij, the one towards his doors, your hajat, your desires are accepted, and the one who is the Zainul Mujtahideen is not one which is restricted during his lifetime, but even after his lifetime. For there have been testimonies not only from within the Shia community, from the followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, but by the Imam of the Sunni community, Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi, the founder of the Shafi madhab, where in his testimony he says that the grave of Musa al-Kadhim is a tried and tested antidote. Usually an antidote is something which is going to be able to cure a poison. So the venom, for example, you need to use an antidote for curing that poison which has been affected by the bite of the snake as such. Here we find that the person who is involved in that difficulties and challenges of the life, be it on the aspect of sickness, be it aspect of social life, physical, economic life, the door of Babul Hawaij, the door of Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen, the door of Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, and Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam is one where one who presents his desires, his hajat, will have those responded to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This we find during his lifetime and after his lifetime. Linking to his lifetime during the time of the Banu Abbasi ruler, at that time where we find that the ruler who had put him into detention, Harun al-Rashid, when once Harun al-Rashid was seated by the palace, by the window of his palace and looking out towards the garrison or the prison area where the Imam had been put into detention, he notices that for a long time in the window which is looking out over there, in that room over there far away, there is something like a carpet which does not move. And he asked his attendants, what is that carpet which I see day in, day out lying down over there, very still? And he is told that that is none other than the prisoner you have put for observation or detention over there, and that is the grandson of the Prophet Musa al-Kadhim, who is found in that state of the sajda. So the Imam was found to be in that state of the sajda. So you can imagine how long must that sajda have been, how much absorbed and contemplating the Imam was in sajda, that for a person from far looks at it, thinks that this is just a carpet being put over there on the floor. And this is a lesson which we get, that during the time of that severe oppression, moments of detention and confinement, where we know from the testimonies of people who have been freed from detention camps and so on, they would tell you that those are very challenging moments which can really affect the mental well-being of a person who is kept in confined places. But Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam could be seen and reflected that for a person who is very much at peace with himself and in communion, in conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, finds that greatest dot of well-being in going into sajda and submitting himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Link this to our lifetime today, where we all know that with the commencement of every day, there are different types of challenges which come in front of us. The challenges could be in the aspect of our workplace. The challenges could be the aspect of our family, health, education. Different types of challenges and issues can come about as such. In those moments of challenges which come out to us, and we look into the life of the Imam, a point which is being given to us, that find yourself going down to the moment of grounding onto the earth, and you will gain that opportunity of making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your very close communicant, your very close confidant, and you find that you are handing over what you have heavy in your heart or challenges for that day into the hands of the one who is our nourisher, our Rabb, the most beloved, the most merciful, the most kind, and the most compassionate. And that is why we find that our ulama kiram and mujtahidin idam have been emphasizing that for every ni'mah, every barakah which comes towards your way, for every bala which is averted away from you, perform a sajda of shukr. Perform a sajda of gratitude. Even if it is just physically lowering yourself down onto the ground, having that intention that I am showing that gratefulness and obeying, thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that itself is one way of being able to show that gratitude. Then the ulama and the marja point out to us that it is recommended when you perform that sajda shukr, if you are able to recite 100 times, if not able to recite 3 times, if you are not able to recite 3 times, recite at least once. Recite shukran lillah. Oh Allah, I am thankful to you, I am grateful to you. Or recite shukran, thank you, thank you. Even if you can't do that, then just say afwan, afwan, I seek forgiveness from you. So mu'minin, again link this, the life of the Imam in those challenging circumstances, and try to bring it out upon us. And we ask ourselves that we, alhamdulillah, who have been given that tawfiq, that we are regular in observing the daily 5 prayers which are obligatory upon us. We do that and we finish up with that sajda shukr. But the question is, do we meaningfully, other than the wajib performance of the salah and thereafter the routine performance of sajda shukr, do we meaningfully have that communication and link and that friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that every moment we have that barakah coming along with us, every moment where we have a goodness, or every moment where the disaster, calamity has been averted upon us, every moment where there's a challenge which comes upon us, don't find yourself alone. Find a moment and just lower yourself down onto the ground and ground up your forehead onto that ground. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, mu'mineen, what then is the benefit of this shukr, this gratitude? Especially when we look into it, that the life of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, it is that life of that closeness of communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Zainul Mujtahideen, the being the one who is most toiling in being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There must have been definitely a lot of benefits which managed him to get through that, such that the caliphs had no way but to terminate his life through poisoning. They tried all their means, but they were not able to change him in his stance. And the final thing for them was to poison the Imam. Those benefits is where we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning to us In Surah Al-Ibrahim, Surah 47, ayah number 7, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is announcing, He is proclaiming. And when your Lord had proclaimed, لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ, if you are grateful, لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, then indeed, certainly, this is a conviction and a promise that indeed I will increase for you. What are you grateful for? You are grateful for all those blessings, barakat, which has come towards you. You are grateful for being averted from any mischief, any misfortune in your life. You are grateful for being given that opportunity, for at least being confident that I am not alone in facing these challenges, but there is my very close friend, the Anis with me, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Performing that shukr, that expression, physical performing of such that shukr is one way of showing that gratitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which the Quran tells us, by showing your gratitude, that is the first benefit. لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, I will certainly increase it for you. So if that shukr towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is because a person has been averted from misfortune and calamity, it means that the promises from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have no fear. Other misfortunes and calamities also will be made to go far away from you as a result of the sajda which you are doing. If it is the barakah for which you are doing that shukr, it is that shukr for which you have been able to do that opportunity of gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be confident and be happy. Allah has promised that insha'Allah, this barakah for you giving that shukr will come more in front of you. It's just being able to have that conscious mind state. So becoming a muttaqi, becoming a taqwa person who is developing that consciousness of coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a big nuclear scientist formula. Otherwise, human beings would have been deprived of becoming muttaqi. Allah has brought it down to the very simple level of the basic literacy and numeracy. Just the hearing and understanding that giving your shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through that mindset of being conscious, let me be grateful and let me be one who is offering the shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is already igniting you to become closer towards that path of taqwa, God consciousness and awareness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That was the first benefit. The second benefit is what we hear from the hadith of the father of our seventh Imam, Imam Ja'far Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. The Imam says, if a person performs sajda shukr for any ni'mah which is bestowed upon him, other than the wajib sajda of salah, this is now Imam talking about the benefit of performing sajda shukr other than the wajib sajda of salah, Allah will record for him 10 hasanat, 10 virtues. And then in addition to that, Allah will forgive for him 10 of his sins. In addition to that, Allah will elevate his position, his daraja in Jannah 10 times. This is just for the mustahab which a person does, that's sajda shukr. Can you just be able to link it up? If this is for something which a person does on his own pleasure and happiness, that he is now being given 10 hasanat records for him, forgiving of 10 sins which he has performed, and elevation of his daraja 10 times, and he does that sajda shukr minimum 3 times a day when we say our salah. Imagine that the boost which that person gets on that day. Then think about when that person does the wajib sajda in salah. Because for mustahab salah, for mustahab sajda shukr, if this is the reward, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is indeed the Kareem, the most generous, the most ghani, most giving, how much would be the state of that person who consciously is doing the sajda, the lowering him down himself, the humbling himself, is part of that wajib salah over there. Definitely, my conviction is that person's state is elevated. That person's sins will be increased, forgiven manifold, and that person's virtues, hasanat, will be returned in increased manifold. Isn't what the Holy Prophet tells us? That as-salatu mi'rajul mu'min. That salah is the mi'raj. Mi'raj is your elevation of the mu'min. So this is another aspect of being able to see the benefit of performing that sajda and giving us a lesson of the journey to go towards taqwa, which is something we really need to be holding very precious, especially in these challenging moments of Ghaibatul Kubra. And it is these things which you and I as parents, constantly we want to discuss this with our children. Because we see for our children, they do achieve, mashallah, great things. They get a lot of responsibilities in school, which they are able to, mashallah, fulfill and take lead in all those things. And the rush to come home and share the good news with you. It is all in the way you and I as parents role model for them, that for this barakah, this hasanat, lower yourself down and go into sajda. The children will learn that much better than is humble yourself down and perform sajda shukr as such. This is where you and I, through that role modeling, will be able to not only put them onto the path of utilizing the simple medicine of taqwa, but at the same time injecting them against that very severe virus of pride, takabbur, arrogance. The present system in the world is, you will notice that even in our language at times we use, I feel very proud, na'udhu billah, to have been able to do these things. Little do we realize that that word of proud is being connected into our minds, that we develop ourselves, rather than being able to say that I am humbled, I am blessed to have been given this opportunity, to have been able to do this thing. But nowadays it has become a commonplace. I feel proud. Right from the government ministers, you keep on hearing them, despite all the corruption, all the scandals, I feel proud to have served this government. And it comes down to within the local communities conversations. It comes down to within even schools. You will hear that our children, we are proud of our children. So it's all about building the ego, it's building the mindset as such. And this is where the current education system is going towards too. So the life of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, the environment of the Banu Abbasi rulers over there, a simple lesson which we get over there is the lesson of Sidda Shukr, which insha'Allah becomes a lesson for us on this night of doing the qadha celebration of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Afdalus salat Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Mu'minin, during the life of our 8th Imam, Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Imam is now of quite an age, around 45 years old, and there is no news of an issue of a son in his home. And one of the followers, according to Shaykh al-Mufid in Kitab al-Irshad, says that one of the followers wrote a letter to the Imam, inquiring from the Imam that how will you provide an Imam for us after you, for there is no son born in your home. The Imam responded to this person who sent this letter, telling him that what tells you that I will have no son? By Allah, a few days and nights will pass before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides me with a male child who will be able to distinguish between the haqq and batil, who will be able to distinguish between the truth and the falsehood. And on a day like today, on the 10th of Rajab, in the year 195 AH, the wife of the Imam, Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha alayhi salam, by the name of Lady Sabika, some narration scholar as Khayzran or Rayhana, she bore a child who is our 10th Imam, Muhammad al-Taqi al-Jawad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa al Muhammad. And we see that in the life of the Imam, he, together like his son, together like his father, the 9th Imam, both of them assumed imamat at very young age. Historians tell us 6 years, 7 years, or 8 years, and they assumed imamat at a very young age. But the life of the 10th Imam, Muhammad Taqi alayhi salam, is very interesting, that he is the only Imam who, on assuming imamat at a young age, led the office of imamat for the shortest lifespan in his life. So when he assumed the office of the imamat, be it 7 years old or 8 years old, the ruler at that time, from the Banu Abbasid ruler Ma'mun al-Rashid, came out with a plan to be able to tame the Imam in his ways, so that the Imam would get diverted away from the actual message of taqwa, the actual message of seeking the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and involve him into what we would say as the worldly life of pleasure and amusement. So at the age of 8 or 9, later on, the ruler called him to come towards Baghdad. And in the court of the Caliph at that time in Baghdad, he was showered with plenty of music, wine, and amusement, and put into courts where there would be a lot of women put over there. And with all this, what we would say is the pampering and the amusement of the lifetime over there, you can imagine that for an ordinary person, how much of a challenge it would be, and how much of a discomfort it would be also for the Imam alayhi salam in those moments, in passing in all these types of shaitani, devilish amusements being brought about in this world as such. Not only that, Ma'mun Rashid now went about further, that he brought about the engagement of his daughter al-Fadl to be engaged to the Imam, so that make sure that there is further of those diversions of the pleasures of the life and the women, again to be able to divert him away from this world. But it was not easy moments for the Imam to be able to go through those moments. And it says that in one of the courts where the Imam was seated and he was being tested with the gathering of the lovely plush and flowing robes and clothes being brought about to him, the serving of the food, the serving of the different types of the desserts being brought to him, one of the men who was in the crowd over there was thinking about himself, that very soon this young boy, with all this kneading and conditioning and cushioning which is being done to him, he will forget to go back to his Medina, to his city, Medina, and he will stay along here with us, and our task will be achieved. When this man said this, the Imam, after a while, went close towards this man and whispered in his ear, telling him that, know that the bread of barley and the salt which is ground, which I used to eat at the graveside of my grandfather, the Prophet, for me is more beloved to me than what you see is being brought about for me in this environment. And the man got shocked that this is what he is telling me, that despite all these efforts done, this man has remained firm and steadfast and swimming through these challenges which are being brought forth for us. Now we link this small incident, we say small, but an bird's eye view from the life of the Imam, and bring this to our life today. The way the court of the Abbasid ruler Ma'mun al-Rashid at that time was full of all the satanic pleasures. Likewise, in our world today, you and I, we know that this world itself is throughout filled in with all these different types of satanic pleasures. Not only in the form of advertisements, not only in the form of the community around us, but even now within the education system. The secular thoughts and the various ideas of living away the matrimony as taught to us by the ancient understanding of marriage as taught by the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all these challenges are being brought about to us. How do we link ourselves to go through these moments is something which we learn from the life of the Imam. And the first lesson which I would like us, you and I, to reflect upon this is that the way that man who had this thought in his mind at that time, he must have had this thought is because he himself must have been attracted and affected by all these things around him. And that is how he came down to that thought. But it means that in spite of all these conditioning cushion being done, it is possible to survive. Not only did the Imam survive, but the staunch Shias of that time also they survived, because the message of Shiaism has come down to us not only because of the survival of the Imam alone, but because of a close company and group who are able to bring down that heritage of knowledge down to us. So that also means for us that you and I, how do we strive within ourselves that with all this environment being put to us in which we are swimming around us, is to see that we bring about that mindset of being able to defend and protect ourselves, that we at least pray that we are of those who are able to hold high the fort or the baton which is given to us to be living companions of the Imam and take it forward for our children and our generation, inshaAllah. And the second point is for us to think about it, that the way Imam was able to read the thoughts and understand what was going on in the minds of the people or the person at that time, and went and corrected him and pointed out to him and telling him that you are misguided, this is my thought. Let us ask ourselves that if we were to, inshaAllah, develop a very close relationship, a very positive relationship with the Imam of our time, then the way Imam Musa al-Kadhim, Imam Muhammad Taqi al-Jawad went and reprimanded that person, likewise the role of the Imam is also to be able to come and commend us, to be able to come and guide us and support us. But it calls upon our ears to be strong enough and very powerful to tune into those sound waves of the Imam, so that we have a relationship close, so that the Imam can commend us, can morally support us, can morally be able to guide us. And we find many a times we say, there is an intuition which is telling me not to do this. Make that aerial to become more powerful, so that we are able to hear the sound waves of the Imam. And it calls upon us to strengthen our relationship, our love, and our spiritual state with the Imam of our time. So mu'mineen, when we talk about these aspects of challenge in these moments of Akhirul Zaman, one of them is to be able to look into the life and reflect that how can we develop ourselves to have the Imam as a partner to be able to carry out that aspect of enjoining the advice and commending upon us, and where we may be sleeping, we can hear the Imam to point out to us, hold on, my devoted Shia, take some care over here. And our Imam Muhammad Taqi salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, in one of his guidance has provided us 3 steps to be able to protect us from the very challenging moments of our time today. What are these 3 steps? The Imam tells us that Salathu yablughna bil abdi ridwanallahi ta'ala. There are 3 things. 3 things, if a person were to attain in performing those 3 things, that person will be able to attain the pleasure, ridwan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When can a person attain the pleasure, ridwan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When that person becomes powerful to ward away the diversions, the amusements of this Akhirul Zaman. As a result of warding that away, he gains the ridha and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are those 3 things? The first thing the Imam says, kathratul istighfar. Increase in the frequency of doing your istighfar. Again, link it to the hadith of the Prophet in the month of Rajab. Rajab shahrul istighfar. Know that this month of Rajab is the month of istighfar. At least say astaghfirullah. Say astaghfirullah. And the Imam is pointing out to us that one of the steps for being able to develop an armor for yourselves and get the ridwan, the ridha of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is increase in your istighfar. Carry out a self-assessment check. How easy it is easy for us to say the word sugar. You know, the word sugar has replaced the other 4-letter word. I hope Mu'mineen understand. Does not permit me to speak from the mimbar over here. S-U-G-A-R, 5-letter word, has replaced the 4-letter word. How easy to say. How easy for us to say is, instead of saying Jesus, you know the way we say, Ya Ali Madad, Ya Allah, in the mu'min of the followers of Jesus, they also say Holy Jesus, Holy Mary. But now secularism has come in, they say Jess or Jeez. Jeez, isn't it? Say cheese, Jeez. Origin of that Jeez or cheese is actually Jesus. The way we say Ya Ali Madad, Ya Nabi Isa. Alright? So secularism is coming, atheism is coming, and now they say cheese. And these are common terminology in our head. We hear them from our children. We try and point out to them. But as I mentioned, role modeling. If we consciously now remember, instead of immediately hooting on the steering wheel and say, Astaghfirullah. Calm down, Astaghfirullah. If something has happened, a failure in a project, don't use that 4-letter word. Somebody has disappointed you, somebody has done something, don't use a 4-letter. Don't respond. I faced it many a times, racial abuse. I faced it many a times, somebody would overtake you all of a sudden and show you a flashing signal of the finger. You understand what I'm talking about? The member does not allow me. What would be the reaction? If somebody were professionally using his fingers, he would react in the same way. But that is not the akhlaq of Ashia of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. When you're living in the time of the Imam and you want the Imam to come and we want to build our waves so that the Imam is able to speak to us and we hear his waves, kasratul istighfar. Let us get our tongues used to those type of language, those type of utterances, which will not only give us that rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will benefit us to be worthy of the Shia of the Imam. First vaccine is kasratul istighfar, increase in istighfar. Second, walinul janib. From those who are amongst you, be one who is layyin, who is soft. It's a challenge, it's difficult, believe me. But that is what makes us human beings, isn't it? When we control our anger, which we say al-Musa al-Kadhim, not because we are taking proud that he's al-Musa al-Kadhim, one who controlled that anger, but a lesson for us. That is what makes us a human being. The difference between a human being and an animal is that we have been blessed with that gift of faculty of control. Unlike an animal who does not have that control. Eats, defecates, gets angry, all right? Behaves the way the animal behaves. Human being controls. Does not just eat like an animal. Does not defecate at any other place as such. Does not just become emotionally unbearable, uncontrollable. Control. How? Leenul janib. Make your interaction to become soft. Make your interaction to become one who is forbearing, who is in nature being able to do that. It's not easy, it's a challenge. I tell you, it's not easy, it's a challenge. But that, as I say, you and I are constantly striving towards the path of coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the taqwa machinery is being able to control. Making ourselves to be of that soft nature when we are interacting with the others. This is the second vaccination being taught to us by the 10th Imam. And the third one is where he says, وَكَثْرَةُ الصَّدَقَةِ, and plentiful of charity. Again, charity, mashallah, should not be limited only into the aspect of being able to consider the pounds and pennies and senses as such. Greatest charity we find in our own akhlaq. Extending that smile, making it a day for a person who comes with a very swollen face in front of you, is a test for me, myself, to smile to that person. All right? And is a form of sadaqah and a charity which I am giving, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward it perhaps much more than the quantity of the pounds and pences which a person gives, but yet he has got a very big swollen face in front of him. So these three things, insha'Allah. One is increasing of istighfar. Number two is controlling or being of good nature with those around us. And number three is increasing our sadaqah, our charity, All this, the ignition key is control. If we were to control it onto the right track, we are assured of what the Imam tells us, that we'll get the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we get the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these moments of ghaibatul kubra, that will make us come closer to the Imam. How can then we ever be able to topple away from the highway of gaining taqwa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us that opportunity, inshallah, that we are able to immunize ourselves with these 3 vaccines which the Imam has pointed out to us. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammadin wa ali. Finally, mu'mineen, in conclusion, the way we started off with the fadila of the month of Rajab by the 7th Imam, it is befitting to end also with the fadila of the month of Rajab from the 10th Imam himself, inshallah. Imam Muhammad al-Taqi al-Jawad salawatullah wa salamu alayhi says in one of the hadiths, he says, in Rajab, there is a night that is better than all that the sun arises. So can you imagine the whole solar galaxy system we are talking, our Milky Way galaxy system, this universe. The sun is giving light to everything on which it arises, its rays arise over there. And the Imam tells us that night in the month of Rajab, its status, its significance, all right, its adama is much better than all on which the sun puts on its light. For once, imagine if you are to understand how much is the significance of this night. Imagine the sun is not there, it is moved out of this Milky Way system. What happens? We hear of collapse, isn't it? So that is the life, isn't it? This is the actual nuclear fusion taking place, which is giving the life to this solar galaxy, what we are enjoying today, alhamdulillah. Remove that thing, gone. What is that night? In this example, an understanding of the solar system, the Milky Way galaxy, and the position of removing out that point of the light of the sun, what is that night? The night the Imam tells us is the 27th night of Rajab, Laylatul Mab'ath. I leave you to reflect. What is that night of Mab'ath? A hint I'm giving you is Jahiliyyah. The Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Over those 23 years from the night of Ba'atha up till his age of 63 when he did the wafat, those 23 years which commenced with that night of Mi'raj has turned the whole destiny of humanity till the day of Qiyamah. Reflect on it, how important and azma is this Laylatul Mab'ath, the night of Mi'raj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshaAllah, give us that opportunity to be able to benefit the way we unconsciously aware that the benefit of the sun is so much for us. We benefit from that azma of Laylatul Mab'ath, the 27th night of Rajab, inshaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially by the wasila of these 2 blessed Imams, our 7th Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, Babul Hawaij, Imam Muhammad al-Taqi, who is known as Jawad, the one who is generous. Ya Allah, we pray to you, especially by the wasila of these 2 blessed personalities, accompanied by none other than their grandmother Sayyida Fatima Zahra salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. For all those who are not in good health, Ya Allah, grant them shafa ajil wa sihhat kamil. For all our marhumin, especially from our relatives, from the ulama kiram and maraji izam, the shuhada of Islam, Ya Allah, grant them abundance of maghfirah and rahmah. Ya Allah, people are suffering in these challenging times in different parts of the world as a result of the various conflicts of the Taghut. Grant them that faraj and yusr and relief from these difficult times. Ya Allah, make all the evil plans of the Taghut and the Zalimin will become null and void and defeated at all times. Grant good health and protection and long life to all of ulama kiram and maraji izam to continue guiding us in these moments of ghaibatul kubra. Ya Allah, we have a different hajat for mu'minin who asked us, and those who are present, Ya Allah, we plead to you, accept their hajat, insha'Allah. Grant them much more than what they have asked from you, Ya Allah, and we pray to you, enable us to be from the Ansar and Awan of Maulana الدنيا and hasten his ظهور صاحب العصر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أفضل الصلاة محمد وآل محمد.
Mu'mineen, salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Many of you will have noticed a change when you entered the center this evening. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have been able to complete our AV upgrade over the last few days. As part of this, you may have noticed that there is no laptop at the front of the hall. The sound quality has improved with the addition of extra speakers, and the video quality has greatly improved with new cameras in both the gents and the ladies' sides. I'm sure that those watching online in particular will have noticed a significant improvement in the quality of the online stream. We would like to extend our gratitude to Brother Shahid Ali Taqi and Brother Miqdad Somji for their extensive efforts and hard work in conducting this refurbishment of our current system, as well as the various volunteers that have provided a great deal of support and assistance over the last few days. Your true reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can I please request all of the mu'mineen to show our appreciation with the recitation of 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If you would like to contribute towards this AV upgrade, please speak to myself or to Sister Zahra Asharia Ramani in the ladies, or you can donate by bank transfer or PayPal, inshallah. Thank you once again for your support, and Khushali Mubarak to you all. Inshallah, we will now conclude with ziyarah, followed by musafiha, inshallah. Please stand for ziyarah.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله يا خاتم النبيين. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا 9 المعصومين من ذريتك، علي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري والحجة بن الحسن القائم المهد المنتظر. عجل الله فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهور الأم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.